Here we go. Bingo. Hat trick. Grace Zumwinkle.
So a lot of history was made in the first week of the PWHL season, including the first ever hat trick by our guest, Grace Zumwinkle, who's joining us now. Congratulations on a great first week. I know it's all been about the league and the history and everything else, but you gotta be happy individually to your start. 4 goals in your first 2 games.
Well, thank you so much for having me first and foremost. I think, like you said, there's so much exciting news for women's sports and especially women's hockey. And like you said, it's a team sport, and obviously I like to score goals, but I think at the end of the day, it's like I said, team sport, and that's something our team has really focused on from the beginning in the first 2 games.
Well, you like to score goals, and it's got to feel even better scoring goals in front of, 13,000 and change, that record crowd showing up. Just describe the atmosphere of that game and playing in front of so many people.
Yeah, it was super exciting. I think a lot of girls, especially from Minnesota, and myself being one of those, you go to games to the Wild to watch, and they always fill up the game with roughly 19,000 fans. And to get a similar crowd for our home opener was super exciting. And I think pride's the word that comes to the top of my mind, especially with a lot of girls that have ties to the state of Minnesota or ended up playing college hockey here.
Got to ask you about the number 1 overall pick in that draft in Taylor Heisey, someone you're very familiar with, teammates at the University of Minnesota, which means you've not only played with her a lot, you've practiced with her a lot. First off, just how good is she? Talk to me about the potential of someone who scores on her first ever professional shot.
Yeah, I mean, she's one heck of a player. I've had the privilege of growing up with her since we were super young and playing at the University of Minnesota together. And I think what just makes her so special is her drive to be the best that she can be every single day. And she pushes herself more than anyone else that I know. And I think that's what's made her so successful. But on the ice, like, she sees plays that I'm like, where did that come from? And I think that just makes her so special on the ice.
You guys had to make a coaching change about a week before the season started. It kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of fans. How tough was that adjustment? A week out, new league, new team, you're trying to get used to everyone, and then you've got to change behind the bench.
Yeah, it was certainly something that I don't know what had happened behind the scenes, but I think for a lot of us, it's just focusing on what we can control and how we show up to the rink every single day. And Ken has been awesome in the short time that he's been with our team, and I think it just goes to show the resilience and closeness of the group that we have here in Minnesota.
Yeah, and speaking of that, your team came into training camp with maybe the most open spots of any other team in the league. Did you find that really has built up some competition for roster spots, for ice time, for everything? Everyone's got to earn every second they get out there.
Yeah, I think it's unique to see how every team did it leading up from the draft to training camp and then even to the preseason games in Utica. And I think that was a big point of emphasis for at least our team here in Minnesota, is just competing every single day and no one's guaranteed a spot. And I think that's evident top to bottom throughout our lineup. And so that was something that our GM, Natalie Darwitz, really instilled from the get-go.
The one thing that's jumped out to us, and we've talked about in the first 2 episodes of our show, the physicality. And I think a lot of people have watched a lot of women's hockey on the international level, and you don't ordinarily see that much physicality let go. I know the league's using more experienced referees, AHL referees, and I know the players wanted this sort of physicality to be allowed. How fun has it been out there to be able to throw your body around a little more than you have been in the past?
I mean, I like to say it's been pretty fun. I think it's been an adjustment for a lot of people, just in the sense of, I'm not saying it's full-on checking, but I think you can definitely rub out or hit people along the boards, which has maybe not been allowed in the past. And I think it's definitely added another layer of complexity to the game. So we'll be excited to see how the evolution of it happens across the season.
Grace, thanks so much for taking the time out from scoring a bunch of goals to talk to us. Congratulations on the great start. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you so much for having me.